I, as a researcher, come to Korea, is expected to come to Korea often, at least once a year. So that is not unusual. What makes this visit special is that it was not planned. It was not planned, and that it was due to special circumstances. The specials we have been monitoring from London, or I have been monitoring from London since May of the candlelight vigils, and we felt that it was getting more critical. So the International Secretariat in London made a decision that in order for us to do work on the policing of during the candlelight vigils, and that's why I was sent to Korea.
네. 이걸 좀 어떻게 평가하시는지, 그리고 또 외국의 집회에 비해서는 어느 정도나 평화롭다는 것인지.
Is a wonderful expression of people power at the most organic level. It just grows on its own. It doesn't have leadership. It doesn't have specific political groups leading it, or unions, or trade unions, or university students. The traditional leaders of any protest. Very peaceful demonstration. It's remarkable to see so many people so many different types of people of all ages, backgrounds, gender represented at the vigil. So I think in that way it's quite nice to see. I don't know how else to put it. I just know that having been brought up in Korea in the 1970s and 80s, and having seen pro-democracy demonstrations, that this is a far cry from the days when people used tear gas and Molotov cocktails and other more aggressive and dangerous ways of engagement, conflict, clashes between the police and the protesters. I don't see that anymore. Certainly not from the largely peaceful protesters' side. Yeah, and I do believe that for the most part, most of the police are also behaving professionally.
인도에서 평화롭게 집회를 하는 시민들을 잡아가고 있습니다. 한국에서는요. 예. 그것에 대해서는 어떻게 보시나요?
I don't think that when the police arrest these people on the pavement, that they're always peaceful. I don't know every single case. From the people whom I've interviewed, they have also, some of them have been arrested on the pavement while they were walking on the pavement, either because they were peacefully there protesting, or they were passing by, or they were just looking, observing things, but not participating, and they were arrested. And it's really too early to say because their charges have not been decided. I think that to arbitrarily arrest people when they're on the pavement, I think that from my investigation that there seems to be cases of arbitrary arrest of people on pavements, and those issues need to be seriously addressed by the police. The use of water cannon should be used as a last resort because it can potentially be dangerous, and from my investigation I have documented cases where there were serious injuries as a result of water cannon. And if the police decide to use water cannon because there are no other alternative means to to maintain public order, then they must abide by the strict regulations around the use of water cannons. I am concerned at the use of fire extinguishers because when you spray it, when the police spray it, from what I have learned from my investigation, they tend to spray it straight at people's faces, which stings their eyes. They're disoriented, and they can't see. Yeah, not only because it's in their eye, but also because it's in the air, and they cannot see where they're going. So it's quite dangerous when there are so many people. I don't see the value in maintaining crowd control, the value of using fire extinguishers on the protesters. The other thing is that I've heard the Ministry of Justice, the police saying that fire extinguishers are completely safe. I'm not completely convinced by that argument and would like to investigate more on that once I return to London. And from my investigation, I have documented cases where people have been hit in the face and suffered serious injuries, but also, even worse, they've been hit in the back of their head, which means that in some ways they were running away from the police and not towards them. I feel that the misuse of the shield is a very important part of my investigation in these protests.
한국 경찰에 대해서도 조사를 하시고 시민에 대해서도 조사를 하셨잖아요.
예.
그래서 좀 더 이렇게 중립적인 그 입장에서 앞으로 이 촛불 시위를 경찰이 좀 어떻게 했으면 좋겠는지, 그리고 시민들은 경찰에게 어떻게 행동했으면 좋겠는지 좀 시민들과 경찰에 대해서.
I think that this is a historical question, and that South Korea is now a democracy. It's moved on from its authoritarian past, but there are still remnants of this distrust between, there's still remnants of the antagonism between protesters and police. And I think in order for us to move forward, we need to build trust through community work. Community work and dialogue between police and protesters, and there needs to be a leap of faith in order for this process to start, so that they can work together to be able to create a solution to this problem.